There have been some dicey moments in the NHL where either some players took advantage of the game and manipulated the rules to work in their favor, or in some cases, the game has just developed so much that the league is forced to adapt and make changes. You have to give credit to the NHL though, they are continuously updating the rulebook, trying to even out the playing field, and making every game played as fair as it can be. Hockey as we know it today is definitely not perfect, but it's come a long way, so keeping that in mind, let's take a look at 6 NHL players who forced rule changes in the league. Cody Eakin and major penalties. It was the 2019 playoffs, Game 7, and the Vegas Golden Knights had a 3-0 lead over the Sharks. Now you'd think a 3-goal lead in Game 7 is enough to get you through to the next round, but then this happened. Cody Eakin was called for a cross-check right off the faceoff that sent Pavelski tumbling off balance into Vegas forward Paul Stastny, which on impact sent Pavelski down to the ice where he laid motionless and clearly injured. The refs whistled the play dead and quickly grouped together to discuss what the hell just happened. After the officials came out of their huddle, they sent Eakin off with a 5-minute major for cross-checking along with a game misconduct. The play happened so fast that the refs concluded that the cross-check landed on Pavelski's face, and if that were true, then a 5-minute major and a game misconduct would make sense. However, that's not how it all played out. Upon video review, the cross-check did not land on his face at all, and it was actually just a freak play where Pavelski lost his balance and landed headfirst onto the ice. Once Pavelski was helped off the ice and the commotion was settled, the Sharks got on a power play, and because it's a 5-minute major, they got that entire 5 minutes on the power play no matter how many goals they scored. The Sharks then rallied around their injured captain and took full advantage of their power play, scoring not 3 times but 4 times to complete their comeback and take the lead. Now, Vegas was able to tie it back up, but they ended up losing in overtime 5-4 in a game they probably should have won 3-0. But because of the 5-minute major that should have never been called, they lost. After the game, it became evident to everyone that this was the wrong call to make on the ice, and it caused the team to lose their trip to the Stanley Cup. The league realized how big of an issue this was, so they decided to implement a new rule for the following season, allowing officials to review major penalties to determine the severity of them. If this had been a rule already in the league, Eakin would have been given a 2-minute minor, and the Sharks might have gotten 1 goal back. But 4 goals? No way that would have happened. Jani Pekkanen and Hybrid Icing. On April 2nd, 2013, Jani Pekkanen found himself in a foot race trying to beat out an icing call. Now at this point in the NHL, touch icing was a popular topic around the league as it clearly put all the players in some seriously dangerous situations. Take Pekkanen for example. He's just trying to do right by his team and get the puck first before the Capitals can, but in doing so, he has to skate as hard as he can directly into the boards. The league was basically asking their players to run into walls if they want the icing call to go their way. Well, Jani Pekkanen got the icing call, but also lost his career as he slides feet first into the boards and suffered a broken heel. His injury was so bad that it was described as a race car injury because of the speed he picked up to cause the amount of impact shattering his heel. You can hear the announcers immediately bring up hybrid icing, and they were right to do so. I understand touch icing has been around for a long time, but that's no reason to keep it around, and changing that in 2013 was way too late. Because of this incident, the NHL announced that for the following 2013-2014 NHL season, they will be using hybrid icing, as the Players Association voted in favor of it. It's just a shame that this rule change had to come after such a severe career-ending injury. Gary Smith and goalie boundaries. In the NHL we know today, if a goalie were to skate across center ice, they would receive a 2-minute minor, which makes a lot of sense. Now this doesn't happen often, but here's the famous Patrick Waugh penalty where he decides to take the puck for a skate for whatever reason. Now, part of me does wish that this rule never existed so we can see one of 2 things. Patrick Waugh getting into their zone and taking a shot on the net, or someone takes a run at Waugh and teaches him a lesson. But this rule had already been in the league for years now, and that is all thanks to goalie Gary Smith. Gary played in the league through the 60s and the 70s for various teams and established himself as one of the most talented and entertaining goalies the league has ever seen. Why was he so entertaining? Well, for one thing, the guy loved to play the puck. Whether it was controlling a rebound and giving an outlet pass to his teammate, or coming all the way out of his net just to race for the puck, Gary Smith played his position with great energy and made a reputation for himself for always being out of his net. On December 1st, 1966, Gary Smith, who was playing for the Leafs at the time, was put in middle of the game against the Montreal Canadiens and decided to give the fans in attendance a bit of a show. Gary caught the puck with his glove, dropped it down to his stick, and just took off. He actually made it all the way to the red line, but as he creeped over, he quickly realized that he was running out of options and needed to move the puck. So as he tried to pass the puck to a teammate, Montreal D-man J.C. Tremblay pinched in, intercepted the pass, and took a shot on the wide open net left behind. Thankfully, a Maple Leaf D-man stayed back to protect the net, and the shot was kicked aside. Now, because of this move by Gary Smith, the very next day, NHL officials started to discuss a new rule that prohibited goalies from wandering around the ice, and they inevitably implemented it, all thanks to Gary. Sergey Markov and Rookie of the Year. When you think about the Rookie of the Year in any sport, you're right to think of that player as some kid who just entered the league and made a huge impact. And while you're right to think about it in that way, the NHL rules never really stated how young a rookie had to be to win this award. Then, Sergey Markov entered the chat. In the 89-90 season, the Calgary Flames were absolutely stacked. They had Joe Nieuwendyk, Theo Fleury, Doug Gilmour, Gary Suter, Al MacInnis, Mike Vernon. The roster was insane. How could it get better? Well, by adding the player who they refer to as the Gretzky of Russia, Sergey Markov. But get this, when Markov entered the NHL, he was at the age of 31 years old. That's right, he was both a first-year NHL player and the fourth oldest player on the Calgary team. This was a time where Russian players were just starting to come into the NHL as Alex Mogilny led them over and opened up the floodgates. Coming into the league with a fully formed game, Markov tallied 86 points to lead all rookies, giving him the Calder Trophy. Now, who did he beat out? This is where it gets frustrating. Following Markov on the Calder list was Mike Modano, Jeremy Roenick, and Rod Brind'Amour. So yeah, Markov got 64% of the Calder votes that year, but the dude was over a decade older than any other player who received a first place vote. This started up some drama within the league, and the NHLPA executive director at the time, Alan Eagleson, called Markov's eligibility a joke. The NHL did act on this, and they changed the eligibility for Rookie of the Year to 26 years old, which I think is still a little too old, but I guess it's still way better than not having a cutoff age at all. Tory Krug and playing without a helmet. It was May of 2019, and it was Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals where the Bruins took on the St. Louis Blues. On one end of the ice, Krug got into a battle with Perron, who ended up knocking Krug's helmet off as the play went back into the other end. Now here is when Tory Krug channeled his inner water boy Bobby Boucher and got really angry. He charged back into the St. Louis zone, laying out a huge clean hit, might I add, on Robert Thomas. Man, that is some good playoff hockey right there. Okay, so that was pretty exciting and entertaining. I mean, you don't see that often, but the reality is that this was a dangerous play, which is why the league stepped in and decided that the next season, the NHL would penalize players who do not immediately go off to the bench after losing their helmet on the ice. Coincidental penalties, aka the Gretzky rule. In 1985, the NHL introduced a set of 5 new rules that brought offsetting penalties into the league. This means that neither of the teams would lose a player whenever a coincidental penalty occurred. This all came to be because of Wayne Gretzky and those damn Oilers who were taking advantage of the rules and were breaking scoring records because of it. The Oilers averaged 423 goals each season between the years of 82 and 85. Before that, no other team had even reached up to 400 goals per season. Before this rule was implemented, the players would go to the box and the game would go down to a 4-on-4 or a 3-on-3. Making a lot more room out there on the ice for Gretzky to skate around everyone and do all the Gretzky things he would do to get him that GOAT status. As long as the Oilers were taking coincidental penalties, it was basically putting Gretzky on a power play, as it just opened up the ice for way more scoring opportunities. And that's why they call it the Gretzky rule. Thanks for watching our videos. Don't forget to hit that like button, and if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.